Good morning. Monday, 14th of September 2020. The shipping community has shown these last 6 months since we started making these videos. It was edited the 20th of March, but in reality it was produced and thought the 13th of March, which is when I moved home. So in these first 6 months, we have shown the shore governments that, well, they have really shown us that the risk in the health side of humans, it is an area that the more governments you have, the more you divide the government ministries and the local governments and province and councils. And it is very nice, but the virus really enjoys this. Let's close at 3 o'clock, or let's not have statistics of infections during the weekend, because it is only 20,000 and who cares if Monday, Tuesday, we don't get the correct data, because that is not binding risk assessment typification. Therefore, the statistical world offshore is really quite funny. But for us, workers of the sea and the maritime community, we are very amazed how badly treated is this health risk. And the figures are so astonishing now that our business, it is infected by the requirements we need to have nowadays with the PCR test, the restrictions, constraints in the travel, nationalities, difficulties. All this is making a very fast digital consolidation in the crew management business, because a 2% agency fee with 4 different employers that we can provide, and compliance, disrupting suppliers, and improving cost constantly. But the main thing is that we have a huge pool, over 100,000 seafarers, and this provides us ability to supply at any time. And today, 14th of September, it is quite complicated to get flights. The flight costs have increased. This consolidation in the crew management business, it is going to grow faster and faster. Small ship owners are not able to supply the crew required, because the shore has not adapted either the training, the verification, the certificates, and perhaps it's also because it is quite difficult to train a group of, say, 100 ratings, cadets, officers. Nowadays, it is becoming complicated to work like this. So you have to work with the humans and the seafarers that we have, and the scope of improving the size of the market, labor market, it is really constrained for this coronavirus. That means that the fight we had before for the same seafarers, it is growing steep. And if this, say, first video I made the 20th of March 2020, in reality it was edited and thought the 13th of March, first day, Friday, I believe it was then, that the family was supposed to stay at home, and then since then we stayed for about 3 months at home. So this really has put some huge disruption in the crew management business. We have had problems with classification societies, as I mentioned, because before it was personal interviews, audits. Now it is quite complicated. We have had issues also with the banks because there is new disruptive digital transfer ways. And there is same in the PNI, which we are waiting for improvements. We also have had a lot of nationalities that was not possible to make the reliefs, and we foresee in the future that the crew management contracts are going to grow very much because the process we need in order to place and recruit seafarers, it is becoming more and more complicated, more time consuming in the office. Uh, we have been non-stop separated by distance but not by digital means of the key indicators. And so we have calculated that approximately the cost of making recruitment and placement has increased threefold. So if we make a selection of a candidate, for example, and then it turns out that we have to do the PCR, but the uh, plane company, airline company, plus the visa, plus the ship have to all be in 48 hours. Sometimes one of the four constraints does not allocate. So we have to restart again the selection process, the recruitment process, and then the placement process. We have about the same situation because sometimes you have the SS, the Social Security of Spain, and other tax authorities with so many public workers that they are looking to put fines and to put problems and never a solution because they never studied to provide solutions, and then also the pool of seafarers is constrained because this coronavirus. So we are growing very much, dear ship owner. If you are a seafarer, please, there is videos of application. We are growing very much our database. We look forward to having your CV. Please, if you have sent the social media requirements of I am available for this, for that, I'm sorry, but I don't attend the uh, CVs via social media because I just don't have enough time. So all my time is dedicated exclusively for ship owners and ship managers. We have disrupted the market in a way that we already have now in Filipinas agency, crew management agency, that we have a $30 fee. So we have been fighting to reduce the cost, and now we are available to supply at very, very, very competitive rates because the problem in a lot of countries is that there is very well trained, huge amount of heroes that cannot join the ships. As I mentioned, seafarers all are heroes because they provide intrinsic value of, let's say, 20,000 for an AB for, say, one country, and then times 11, 10 times 10, sorry, indirect jobs or collateral jobs, as you would like to name it, then it is a wealth of 11 positions generated. So if one seafarer brings 20,000 for me, it is 220,000. And the intrinsic value for 100 years, well, just multiply times 100 the position. The maritime sector is strategic, and we have seen also that the logistics of this maritime sector has not been disrupted. Perhaps the cruise side, which slowly looks like they are going to improve now, of course, if everybody had the PCRs done, the risk would be zero, but that's not my uh, area of interest because I am not an expert in this. I can say that if the group is of 20, 25 general cargo, then it is less risky than if it is of 2000, obviously, because the risk to zero is very difficult. And the crew management business now, it is growing very much in this situation. The tendency is that we are going to grow much more because the 2% agency fee we have for fleets is really peanuts. And because obviously having a database of 100,000 seafarers does help us to provide the service at the cost with the excellent seafarers that there are available. Unfortunately, most of them have not been able to join these last 3 4 months. So the market has not grown much, only the dollar euro. There is plenty, about 200 videos specific that you can view and train in English or in Spanish. And we have to be positive in this situation. We have seen that our alternative areas of communication, like specialist shipping news, and that this kind of media where you can subscribe and like and pass to other members. It is very important that we must focus in our sea. Our sea requires the attention. We cannot look at the shore because they will cut it in different governments, and then we will get the sight out of the sea. So we must focus in our sea. I mentioned so many areas of improvement of wages, net wages, pools of crewing, digital class societies, P&Is, we're still waiting for improvements. Ship owners that at no cost we are ready to make benchmark cost and quality and ideas of policies. Policies have changed completely. Before it was possible to have two nationalities on board the ship. I believe this pandemic has proved that we have plenty clients that mix, and we call them United Nations ships. And so this is the tendency. Therefore, the flags have to adapt to having multinational crews. Ships must be operational. It is a strategic sector. Now, I hope with this coronavirus that everybody sees that seafarers are heroes and that ship owners have created life in the intrinsic compound value of all this, which is around, I think, is 30 billion per year intrinsic value per country multiplied by indirect, so it's 330 multiplied times 100 years, so it's like trillion things. But the corporate social responsibility of these ideas and figures is that the wages are very well spread out throughout the 3 million families. And so this is the concept, I think, not just 200 billion Jeff Bezos. No, it is 3 billion, no, 30 billion for 3 million families. So this is the division, which always will have stability in this business. And even at the crisis like now, it has been proved that the seafarers need to have first the vaccine. Protection and indemnity clubs, I don't know what you're doing, but if you want to protect and forget about indemnity, please, vaccine for seafarers. Can you buy a vaccine for all the seafarers? It's only 3 million. Come on. Then will governments realize that if the insulin does not arrive to the hospitals or the books and the PCs or security to security, the three pillars of society, health, education, and security. If these do not get the maritime 90% support, supply goods and services, then we are going to have a problem. So aren't them seafarers heroes? Aren't them ship owners putting their capital towards this compliance for the world? Isn't that really something amazing? Now, why do we have to put them in second list when they join a plane in second list when they have to renew a document. Estonia has done a great job towards having tax-free for seafarers on the flag, and I hope that other countries follow this trend because the seafarers and the ship owners deserve zero tax and just leave the maritime sector alone. I am waiting for the social security 120,000 euros they owe me. I'm waiting to have lists of all the fines to small medium companies in the world because those provide 90% of employment too and are strategical because they provide 90% of the world. And I also made some videos in these last 6 months about millennials. I could make many more videos about millennials, but if you spread and you teach them, also I made videos about investing, which is an alternative source of income that you have to find. Could be investing into household, into any other bit or any other business or any other, say, service. But the question is that we have to teach seafarers that having different sources of income is very interesting. And if any of them has a problem nowadays with this digital world, we can show you or try to at least our little brains what we have done throughout our experience so they can pass to others and others and others. Now, we also have seen there is conflicts now in Europe with the Brexit. It is obviously going to be a huge problem. Why? Because it is always sure making decisions, and as soon as there is one problem, they cut it into, say, different countries. So that's the first problem. This is the same as with coronavirus. We have one virus, so many countries, so many ministries, and then we need to solve what is my tie, yeah? And suddenly it is being cut by 55 pieces. Is a puzzle of, say, 6 trillion, and then how can we get the tie? And, well, it's not possible. This is the same situation with minimum wage, same situation with labor contracts, with P&I, with the vaccines for seafarers, classification societies, flags are responsible for the health of the seafarers. And all this in these disruptive digital ways, we can turn it positive. Now, all the news we have is negative in the newspapers and blah, blah, blah. But this is because we in the maritime community must make positive ideas, positive, always positive. And that's what we have tried these last 6 months, and we will continue to do so. Unfortunately, the situation is complicated. It takes 3 times more cost to supply the services. I hope the ship owners will realize that then our 2% fee now, it is much more competitive because only with the volume of the database of seafarers, it is then complicated enough to provide the contracts, the papers. They were just telling me in the office right now, Jose, how complicated it is to have one person joining because the PCR, the visa, the travel, then the airline company requires more papers for the health, and then huge complicated business to do crew management safely at 100% compliance. This is their situation, dear ship owner. Things are changing very, very fast. And if you can get someone digital like this, digital competitive advantage at a 2% fee with a big database and growing digital disruption, then why don't leaders get this job done? We have been doing it since Captain Antonio Candina in the 1896. With 11 years old, said, I want to be a maritime officer. Since then, that light, like ship owners do, this light of intrinsic value for 4 generations of Candina is continuing. And well, the show will go on. Thank you very much indeed. Goodbye.